On a seemingly ordinary day back in 1981, a vibrant young woman with a bright future vanished without a trace and was never seen again. The disappearance of Cynthia Anderson has haunted her loved ones and community ever since. It's one of the most perplexing missing person cases of the 80s and possibly of all time, coming entirely out of nowhere, with the whereabouts of Cynthia Anderson still completely unknown to this day. Cynthia Anderson was raised in a Christian environment, with her family, boyfriend and social circle all devoted to the faith. She was described as a quiet, unassuming woman who never made waves with her family and was very agreeable. When she reached the age of 20, Cynthia and her boyfriend had plans to expand their Christian journey further, as at the end of July 1981, Cynthia put in 2 weeks' notice at her job and was intending to go to Bible college with her partner. It all sounds pretty normal up until now, but the sinister elements of her story began in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Cynthia had been having terrifying dreams in the weeks preceding her vanishing. Of being abducted, she complained to her boyfriend and friends of a recurring dream in which a sinister individual would knock on her door, kidnap her, and then actually kill her. She also told her mother about the nightmares, but unfortunately her friends and family dismissed the dreams and didn't see them as much of a concern. Some say Cynthia had psychic powers, or experienced a premonition. On August 4th, 1981, Cynthia Anderson disappeared from her workplace, never to be seen again. On most mornings in her secretary job at law office in East Manhattan Boulevard in Toledo, Ohio, Cynthia was often alone. Because of this, she cautiously would always keep the door locked. On the day of her disappearance, a janitor came forward and claimed he had seen her working earlier than normal that morning, which was slightly out of the ordinary, as she usually had regular set working hours she didn't deviate from. Around midday as normal, Cynthia's co-workers started to arrive, but they found the office to be mysteriously empty. To make sure Cynthia had actually been in the office to begin with, her co-workers looked into things that would make it indisputable she had been there. For example, it was confirmed that the radio, air conditioning and lights had been left on, and there was an open book left on her desk. Disturbingly, when her work colleagues checked the open novel left on her table, it was opened to the only violent scene in the book. It wasn't until really looking at the book, particularly reading the passage in the novel, that I had a sickening feeling that something was very wrong. Also, there was an emergency button on Cynthia's desk which could be pressed to alert nearby stores if she needed help. This button had not been pushed on the day of her vanishing. It was very unlikely Cynthia had fled somewhere by herself, as her car was still in the parking lot, and there were records on the business system that she had not answered any calls after 10 AM. So it is believed whatever happened to her occurred sometime before then. Cynthia's family were completely against any kind of suggestion that she could have run away, with her father Michael maintaining that Cynthia had absolutely no reason whatsoever she would have left to start anew. Michael expressed his worry that someone sinister had taken his daughter, as he said that Cynthia sat behind a glass window that anyone walking by on the street could see through, and he did not trust the residents of that area. As if the story wasn't creepy enough, a client of Anderson's, Larry Mullins, told the police that Cynthia had received a threatening phone call from an unknown person the day before her disappearance. This phantom caller apparently scared and threatened her, and even called back a second time. The client reiterated that Cynthia was visibly freaked out by these calls. The day before Cynthia Anderson disappeared, I had been in the law offices to pay off a legal fee. She got a phone call. She kind of reacted like maybe it was obscene or something, and hung up real quick. The look on her face, still, I can picture it today. She was scared. She was honestly and sincerely scared. It gives me shivers to think of the look on her face. I went home and I called the police department and asked them to do a drive-by and check on her. Something scared the hell out of her, in my opinion. Authorities were also informed that in the months beforehand, someone had actually written "I love you, Cindy" by GW on a wall near the office where Anderson worked. It was actually visibly there for 6 whole months before it was painted over. The police interviewed several individuals with the initials GW, including a maintenance man with keys to the office where Cynthia worked. However, they found no evidence linking this man to her vanishing. Someone did come forward and claim to have written the message, but that it was meant for another Cynthia. It was a coincidence that many have raised their eyebrows at, and some believe the real perpetrator was indeed whoever ended up taking Cynthia. The details of this case just get more and more disturbing, as a month after Anderson went missing, police received an anonymous call from someone who asserted Cynthia was being held against her will in a basement of a white house, and that there were 2 houses next to each other owned by the same family. The caller told the police that the parents who owned those houses were away, and it was their son who was keeping Cynthia captive. Frustratingly, before any address information could be provided, the caller hung up. They did call back, but again the call ended. Authorities were left in a tricky position, as they had nothing to work with and were not sure if this call was a genuine tip or a prank call, and even so there wasn't enough information provided for them to find this so-called white house. She said that she was scared and she was talking in low whispers. She kept saying she had to go. I kept begging her to stay on the line, give me more information, give me an exact address, something we could act on. A short while later she again called. She mentioned the houses. We did check street after street on the north end to see if we could find 2 houses side by side. There's many, but you can't find any positive location to the house. The search for Cynthia Anderson proved very distressing, as no information was even slightly helpful until November of 1995. On that day, 9 individuals were charged with involvement in a large drug distribution ring in Toledo. 2 of those were Cynthia's employer, Richard Neller, and his friend, Jose Rodriguez Jr. Rodriguez was apparently the ringleader of the drug ring. Police suggested that they believed Cynthia had been murdered by Neller because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, overhearing conversations between Rodriguez and her boss about the operation. A witness also testified they had heard Rodriguez confess to killing Cynthia. However, this has all never been officially confirmed, and the police could not get this confession on record, and the case of Cynthia Anderson still stands as unsolved. Cynthia's mother sadly passed away on February 1st, 1983, and Michael Anderson continued to hold out hope for his daughter's return up until his death on January 2nd, 2008. If she herself is out there, we want her to know we love her and we certainly want her to come back, whatever the case may be. The door is open. We certainly want anybody and everybody that can possibly help in this situation to do so. The case of Cynthia Anderson serves as yet another reminder that behind every unsolved mystery, there are real people whose lives have been forever altered. It is heartbreaking to know that Cynthia's parents never received closure or got the answers they were desperately needing. It is undeniable that Cynthia left a very positive impact on her family and friends, and the community have never forgotten her. And it is very important that despite her parents no longer being alive, hope for closure in this case should never be given up on. Maybe one day the truth will finally be unearthed, but until then, in regards to the whereabouts of Cynthia Anderson, we are still desperately seeking answers.